Okay. Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery and I share my life with you. Today, you guys, I've got a special guest, and Dawn. She's hanging out backstage because what I want to do is I want to get all you guys in here. And then once I get everybody in here and situated, we're going to bring her on so she can share her testimony and a little bit about her book. But I'm super excited. I don't have a lot of women on my channel, you guys, and I don't know why. It's not because I don't love women. Like, I am definitely a girl's girl, but it's like dudes hit me up all the time. They're like, Nicole, can I come on the channel? Nicole, can I share my story? And so whenever I get to have another woman on the channel, it makes me excited because I know a lot of you guys that watch my channel are women in recovery. So okay, let me get on here. I have to go to Facebook and share this video out. And y'all bear with me because it is storming really bad. I live in Arkansas, so hopefully the connection and everything will be good. So just bear with me. I'm sharing this video out. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube and Facebook, if you guys don't mind sharing the video, that would be awesome. It helps out a lot, so that way people that need to see the video will find it and can join us for, you know, an inspirational story, man. It's always a blessing to have somebody on who's been able to get their life together and get sober, and it inspires me too because, you know, I need inspiration. I'm just one person, and sometimes I get down and out, and it's always good. I love having people on the channel to share their stories. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Cody. Hey, Cindy. Okay, y'all come on in. Thank you very much. Everybody get in here. Let's get situated. Y'all share the video out, and then we're going to bring Dawn on the channel. I know the hurricane's headed my way, Bobby. Don't remind me. Hey, Jessica. What's up, girl? I'm really glad to see all you guys in here. I have been on a roll today with recording videos. Some days, you guys, I feel like recording and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And then other days, like yesterday, I felt horrible, you guys. My head was hurting so bad. So today is a much better day. Hey, Reaction Rookie. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just working on sharing this all out. Hey, Freya. I've seen you in forever. Where you been? Okay. I think I've shared it out to a lot of groups, so that's good. Oh, crap. You know what I always do? I always have the privacy set to friends. Okay, now it's set to public. Okay. All right. Are y'all ready? I think I'm ready. Let me put do not disturb on my phone because that would be rude if I got a phone call during the middle of it. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Merk. Merk, help me share this. Oh, you already did. Thanks, Merk. Okay. All right. I'm not going to make y'all wait any longer, okay? Let me get her on here.
Hey.
Hey, girl. What's up?
How are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
What about you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you. There's like a little bit of a lag. Good?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So with it being laggy, see, this is the only thing about doing live streams is that sometimes that it lags, or like if the weather's not completely clear here, it'll be all crappy, and I hate that. But yeah, it like lets us have people interact and all that good stuff. So that's why I like doing it. And it's so easy. I don't have to worry about recording or editing or anything like that. I'm lazy.
No, I love technology. It's wonderful. It's a great thing. And especially now with everything going on, it's great to be able to communicate and have meetings and talk. And it's great. we have it.
I've been totally Zooming all the time. We've been Zooming every day.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I do prefer in-person meetings, but Zooming is cool. So before I start talking your ear off, would you please do me a favor and introduce yourself to everybody and share with them about that you're an author. You share with them who you are, about your book, and then if you don't mind, kind of like sharing a little bit with us about what inspired you to write your book.
Sure. My name is Dawn Searock, and I live in Telford, Pennsylvania. I'm 49 years old. My book actually was written during the COVID lockdown. I wrote it in 3 days on my cell phone. On my cell phone. I had really been feeling God prompting me for quite a few years since I got into recovery to, use my broken pieces and my story to really just benefit others. And it's really the only thing that I think keeps me going, honestly, is the idea of helping others is really, I don't know, it's just so important to me. It's important to me that people can see that there is life after addiction and it doesn't define us. It can be just, a stepping stone, really. I'm grateful for all of it, to be honest. Like, I can't say I regret what happened because it's made me who I am now. And I've had so many lessons through it. But all that being said, writing the book was really something that I just felt very strongly about. And there wasn't a better time than during the lockdown, really, because I was just isolated,
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that you wrote that book in 3 days.
I did, and I just wrote it. I just finished it like May 30th.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah, and then I self-published. So don't ever think that you can't put yourself out there. You can. And I think it's really important that we do share our stories. And I love what you do, Nicole. I love watching you just be transparent every single day, even with your Suboxone taper. I mean, that's like really vulnerable stuff. And the fact that you let everyone into that and being really honest and vulnerable is just what we really need more of in recovery. We need to see those struggles, because I didn't always do it perfectly. I had a few mess ups in my recovery and I relapsed on alcohol and, I had a struggle. So, yeah. But that's not that it has to be part of it. I don't want to say that because I've heard that, but it can be part of it. And you have to really give yourself that grace to get back up and keep going. Nothing is lost. If you had a month, if you had a year, if you had 5 years and you mess up, it's not lost. It's not wasted. It can always be resumed. So long
I feel the same way.
Yeah. And I think
a lot
it's
of
important.
People, I feel the same way, and I'm so glad that you said that because one of my very good friends reached out to me probably like 3 days ago, and she had like 6 or 7 years of sobriety, and she was struggling with benzos, and she and I had come up in the program like really heavy in the 12-step program, and I don't think that that the 12-step programs mean to do this, but a lot of the times there's like this shame ingrained in us that you relapsed, you lost all that time. And that's why a lot of people don't come back from relapses. They stay out. And because other people that are in these programs, they forget where they came from and they don't they don't welcome you back with open arms, and they might not. Sometimes I don't know if people are aware that this is how they are, but I'm pretty sure they do. It's like all we have is today. Like all I have is right now. I'm lucky. I feel blessed to be sober and doing a live stream right now because I could click off this live stream and go get high or go get into a car accident and die. And I take that really seriously. Like every single day is an opportunity for me to help somebody else and to be grateful and to share that gratitude with other people. There's not a lot of people that are like that. So when you meet people like you who are grateful and who want to help people, who genuinely want to help people, it's like, it's hard to find people like that. In my experience in the recovery community online on Facebook, it's really been difficult for me, especially sharing about being on maintenance medication openly without judgment. And that's all I want to do is help other people to not feel judged like I did when I was starting out, you know? So I really appreciate you for understanding and recognizing that about my channel, because I just want to help other people, and I want to help all people, no matter what they're doing for their recovery. I don't care what you do, you know, as long as you're making changes in your life and you're staying sober and you're able to live a productive life, then that's amazing. That's a win in my book.
Well, I just want to say two things to what you just said. Number one, just to the point of like how it's not all wasted. I think it's really a disservice to anyone looking for help and recovery when someone turns their back on them because they're not rigid like that. Like, not everyone's going to do recovery the same, first of all. And second of all, we need to be the people that embrace them back. We need to be the people that can encourage them. What went wrong? What happened? Something goes wrong in a relapse. And I'm not blaming people, but I'm saying there needs to be more accountability on both sides. And number two, it really breaks my heart that you say that it's been really difficult to find people that care about other people and that recovery community. It's not really what you would hope it would be. And that makes me really sad.
It's hard to find people that are genuine.
Yeah, that's really
been my experience. It really has been. I see a lot of people that a lot of people that do want to help, but I feel like what happens is a lot of the times that their help gets misguided. They get caught up in, you know, like being famous, having a following, you know, and they let that get to their head, you know, just because we can use ourselves, for example. Just because I have a YouTube channel, just because you wrote a book doesn't make us like special or famous people or better than anybody else.
Oh,
and I feel like that's what I'm talking about, is the humility. If there's a lack of that humility.
Let me tell you, writing that book was one thing. Putting it out there for the whole world to read is another. And it's cringeworthy, even still, to me, the thought of the masses reading it, even though I know it's necessary, even though I know it's important. But I also, it wasn't an easy decision. It was a self-sacrifice that I knew that I needed to make for other people, because I didn't see a lot of encouragement either in the recovery community. I didn't see a lot of love. I have many friends who are still in addiction, and I check on them every day. I love them every day. I don't make them feel ashamed. I would never, ever do that, because I was there. But by the grace of God, there go I. I mean, it could be me, like you said, we could get off here right now and we could relapse. We could OD. That would be the end of it, you know? I mean, we're no different than anyone else. And the fact that we're choosing to use our story to help others is just by the grace of God that we've been given another day. It's not anything special. It's not anything unique. Anyone could just choose to put themselves out there, and it's not easy. And I commend you on that. You're faithful. You do it every day. I mean, I see you. You're very faithful. You know, I'm saying,
some people would call it borderline psychotic.
No, I mean, it's okay. Let people say what they will, but it's a commitment that you've made to yourself first and foremost, and then to others. Because it helps you too, of course. It's a two-way street. It's not like just, oh, here I am, just loving everybody. No, it's you also are feeding your own self, and you're giving yourself that recovery. You're working your steps by doing it, you know?
Right. And that's what I try to tell people, like, it really does help me. Like, I can't even lie. Like, if I hadn't started doing my channel, I don't even know if I'd still be sober. It's like I have so many people to be accountable to. And these people hold me to a standard, and sometimes I feel a little bit of pressure, but for the most part I love it. So I know that I didn't realize that your book was just done in May. For some reason I was like, that's amazing. That's dedication to sit down. Did you just sit there on your phone and
Well, I don't do this. I swipe. I'm a swiper. I could never do this. This would kill me. I would be done. I have to swipe. or voice to text, but then it never comes out correctly anyway because I have a New England accent when I'm not trying to sound professional like I am right now.
I cannot get rid of the country accent. Like, no matter how hard I try, like, I cannot do it. So
I
there's
love
not even a
it.
point.
You were like, we're fixing to have a storm here. I was like, fixing? Ain't nobody fixing. Nobody's fixing for that. That just happens.
I know, it's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me this. Like, okay, so when you were a kid and you were growing up, like, did you come from a stable family? Are your mom and dad still married? Like, how was it?
Yeah.
What was it like for you when you were growing up?
Yeah, I was brought up in a very dysfunctional, alcoholic, drug addicted home. There was lots of abuse, neglect, starvation, sexual abuse. There was lots of things that led me to the age of 9 already being a blackout drinker, you know? And I didn't realize it. And it took me a long time in my adulthood to realize, wow, I really was always geared toward addiction. I just kind of
Yeah.
always was. And I do think that a lot of addiction issues do stem from trauma, mental illness, you know, just things of the past that aren't dealt with, you know, especially when it's perpetuated throughout your life. Like it doesn't change if you know, are still a part of it. So it took me a long time to break that cycle and to realize that it really had a lot to do with the toxic relationships in my life that were causing me to feel like I didn't belong, that I didn't fit in, and I needed to substitute that with something else. And so I did, and I did it fairly regularly until I was older. But I never considered that addiction, honestly, Nicole, which is so weird. Only when I was 32 and I first had my first shot of heroin did I realize, like, that's where I consider my addiction to have taken place,
Uh-huh.
which is
Yeah.
weird because it's not true, you know?
So was your mom and dad both in there? They both were drug addicts? Did they
They
ever, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. They were both very active drinkers, and as I got older, drugs came into the picture. My mom and dad separated. They were never married. Um, but my mom began doing cocaine and other drugs, and my mom became like my shooting buddy, you know? I mean, that's what happened later in my life.
Did your mom get sober?
My mom passed away in addiction, actually. Like
Oh,
she was
man.
still in addiction when she passed away. She didn't pass away from the addiction, but she was still actively in addiction when she passed away.
Wow. Our stories are so much different because I had like the model mom and dad. Like they're still married to this day and they raised me like top-notch A1 best parents in the world.
Wow.
And I went totally against the grain. Isn't that so crazy? Like,
I'm very interested to hear about that though, because I never really have met anyone like you.
oh, my mom and
And
dad
that's
are amazing. Amazing. Greatest parents ever. Had me in extracurricular activities. I went to a great school. There's, like I said, they're still married to this day and they're amazing. But me, I have two little sisters and then I'm the oldest. Me and my middle sister, we got on drugs and we started ripping and roaring. And my baby sister was like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. And so she watched me and my middle sister screw up our lives. But it's just like,
But
when
what
I
do you
hear
think
people,
made you do that? Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm curious to know, like, what was it, just curiosity?
when I was very insecure,
Initially.
I
Yeah.
was a very insecure kid. Like since a young age, I can remember being afraid of thinking people were going to kidnap me from my parents, thinking people were
Oh.
going to carjack us. Girl, I grew up in Arkansas. I don't
But
even
what is
know.
that? I don't know what that means.
And
I
like
grew up
it's a
in New England. I mean, it's pretty
it's a
bad.
little like I grew up in Hot Springs. It's a small town. It wasn't like people were going around carjacking people or robbing people. It was like a good country town. And so I was really, for some reason, really paranoid and afraid when I was a kid. And when I got older, I started struggling with my weight. And so I had always fluctuated back and forth. But when I got to about 16 years old, I hit this like chunky stage and I was depressed and embarrassed and I hated it. And so I met a boy and we started smoking pot
I
together.
met a boy.
And then we started doing cocaine. And then I was like, this is great. I don't want to
Oh,
eat anything. You know,
yep.
that's how it all started.
I do now. I weighed like 90 pounds doing crack. I get it. I know you didn't do crack, but it's the
Oh,
same.
I've done it all. I used to smoke
Yeah.
cracks. It was ridiculous, but that was later on. How did you,
Yes.
when you were a kid, you were drinking alcohol.
Hmm.
Did you become dependent on it as a young child? Did you go to school? Did you graduate high school?
Um, yes. When I first tried it, I was 9 years old. And the first drink, I was hanging out with like 13, 14, 15-year-olds. I was always much more mature than my
Uh-huh.
age. And they were drinking, and I wanted to fit in. So I drank. And I really remember drinking quite a bit for 9 years of age. And I was thinking about that in the car today when I was driving, and I kind of knew you were going to ask me that, which is weird. But I said, I really think that I had a really high tolerance always. Like it was just a high tolerance I could just consume. So I don't know. That was the first time. And then it progressed from like 11 all the way through until I, had my first son. You know, my first husband and I, we drank all the time together. We were together since I was 13 years of age, and that's all we did. We drank and we did acid and we smoked weed and had a great time,
Oh
That's what
yeah,
we did.
such a great time.
We thought it was a great time. When I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, if my kids ever did this, I would kill them.
I know. I
You
feel the
know?
same way. My little boy's 6 years old, and I can't even imagine him like drinking alcohol or anything like that. Like I would.
Breaks your heart.
It's scary to think about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
always educating him, and
Hmm.
I know a lot of people might disagree, but I think my son is 6 years old. He's going to first grade. There's kids in the class who talk about drugs, marijuana,
Oh,
cigarettes, everything. So I talk to my son about those things openly, and because I want him to know, like, you don't want to go down the same road that I went down.
nope.
So
Yep.
you got married. Did you get married at a really young age?
Yes, I was 19 when I got married, and then we had two children. I was 22 when I had my first, and then I was 29 when I had my second. And we stayed together until I was about 31. We separated. And through the separation is when I really just found myself very depressed. Even though the relationship wasn't the best, it still was all I knew. And to
Yeah.
go from having a family unit to going back into, kind of being an orphan, I was always sort of an orphan in my life. Um, it just kind of messed with me a little bit, and it got me very depressed. I couldn't stand the thought of being alone for 1 minute. I couldn't take it. Like my heart would, I remember having full panic attacks when I would just sit in my apartment by myself for a minute. And I would just run to the bar and I would run to friends and we would go out, and that's what we would do. And then it just turned into, all of a sudden, crack started coming around, and it was weird to me. I had never seen it. I heard of it, and I always thought, like, like in Living Color, you might be too young for that, but
I watched In Living Color.
so in Living Color had that crackhead skit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what my view was of a crackhead, a homeless bum, loser, no
Right.
teeth, kind of just crazy, sketchy dude, right? Certainly not me. And it started getting introduced to me like just in circles, at a party or random places, but I wasn't really interested. And then one night, for whatever reason, I decided I'll try it. And so
Right.
I did. And I really kind of liked it. I felt, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I felt out of control or more in control doing it. I don't know what the pull was, but there was something chemical about it that was just constantly drawing me to it. And it was right away. And within 2 weeks, I was really just kind of 24/7 doing it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was obsessing about it. And it was really weird. And that's why it's funny to me when they don't consider it an addiction. I mean, it's an addiction. If it's not,
Cocaine.
yeah, they
Cocaine is
don't.
like that though. With cocaine, like, because I smoked cocaine, I shot cocaine, I snorted
Ugh,
cocaine,
my
and
stomach is like,
no matter how I did it, it is one of those drugs that it just it hits a switch, and I'm like back. I will pawn anything that is not bolted down
everything.
to the
I
floor.
know.
Like if I had to, I would trick if I had to get some. You know what I mean?
I do. I know
It's,
exactly what you mean.
and when I think back to that, like, because cocaine, I had done methamphetamine already, but then I just started getting on cocaine, and it just grabbed me, and I started shooting it, and I would stay at the dude's house that sold it, and until I ran out of money, and then I would start begging him to, like, let me do other things so he could give it to me for free. And that's one of the things that, like, it was the lowest, my lowest points were when I was doing shooting cocaine, because it made me insane and desperate and just like, oh, mercy.
I know. I think it's a demon. When I really think about it, I actually think it's a physical spirit. I really do. And I know that probably is a little far-fetched if you're not like in those lines of thinking, but throughout my years of education biblically, I kind of feel like addiction is a spirit. I mean, I do. I feel and believe that addiction is a spirit. I don't believe that it's too intense. It's something from outside of you even, and you can tell that, especially with crack, you can tell that it is something from outside of you that is doing this thing that's calling you. I mean, he used to call me.
Oh, I know.
Literally call me. But when I first started, it was very it was only for 2 weeks when I tell you that I started that, and it was right away. It was only for 2 weeks, and then I put myself in the hospital because I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. So I checked myself in the hospital, and coinciding with that is when I met my next boyfriend. So he would come to the hospital and visit me, and he started bringing me, again, opiates, and I'd never had any experience with opiates. I didn't know what opiates were. I knew what heroin was, but I mean, it was so taboo and so far from my thinking. But he was bringing me like oxys and Vikes and stuff like that, and he was putting them in my coffee cup. He would tape them under the lid. I shouldn't be saying this because it gives people ideas.
No.
But that's how I would get my stuff from this man. That's right away. That's what he started doing to me before I even knew what those things were. So that was the start of our relationship when we weren't even solidified yet. Already he was giving me drugs. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that's how it started. So that was my introduction to opiates. And then once I left the hospital, I moved in with him. And within a matter of weeks, I had my first needle shot of heroin. I didn't know that he was a former heroin user, and he was in recovery at the time when I met him. So when I told him why I was in the hospital for the real reason, I went in for depression, but really it was for crack cocaine. Like, I was terrified. That's when he shared with me, oh, that's wonderful that you're telling me that, because I'm a recovering heroin addict. I had no clue what that meant. I really didn't, So that's where it started.
This segue into your first shot of heroin. What was it like? Give me your experience. How did it make you feel?
I felt complete love. I had never experienced this emotion before. Like, I think because of my life, my childhood, and everything leading up to this day, I was really empty inside. I was really void, and I was really not looking in the right places to find what I needed. And so I took that shot, and I really thought that was the most amazing feeling, and that I would literally do anything to have that every day for the rest of my life. I never wanted to live without it, and I knew it right away. And I was kind of angry. I looked at him and I said, I've been missing this all these years. Like, I literally was pissed that I was missing this for how many years, and I needed to catch up. I had a lot of catching up to do, and I believed that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, because it's that relief. It gave you the relief that you had been seeking for your whole entire life. And all of us that are addicts and alcoholics, we're looking for that relief, that feeling to fill up whatever void that we have inside of us. That's an emptiness. Like you said, you were hated to be by yourself. I was the same way. Whenever I finally didn't have a man in my life and I had to live on my own, I had anybody I could have stay the night. just so that way I didn't have to be there by myself. I didn't care. I'd go find a homeless person off the side of the road. You need a couch to sleep on? Come keep me company. Because I
Yep.
didn't want to be
I
by
know.
myself, you know?
I
And
do
so
know.
I felt the same way whenever I did any drug that I started injecting. The minute I injected it, I was like, this is amazing, every single time. And
Yeah.
it just took over my whole entire life. How did you guys' relationship end up? Because y'all were both injecting drugs together.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, if I just want to back up 1 second, the crazy part about that too was that I had had a lifetime full of being totally terrified of needles. I mean, I was terrified of needles. I did not like them. I was petrified of them. And that's one part that's crazy, you know. But I mean, at first it was fine. I mean, you know, like you probably go like we probably went like 3, 4, 5 months where no one knew, and it was like our little secret, and it was pretty well hidden. And I don't know, I don't know. I guess we didn't really think about where it was headed. I certainly didn't know where it was headed. I know that he certainly knew where it was headed because he had been down this road before. I didn't know that it was going to consume me. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but the needle itself was another addiction entirely.
Oh yeah.
Like just the needle alone. I mean, it didn't have to have anything in it. I would play with it constantly.
I've shot up water, girl, for like 8 hours.
Toilet water. Now ask me why on earth did I do toilet water? I don't know. I don't know.
I locked myself in the bathroom one time and I just sat there. It was just, I think a lot of people do that because it's just like, it becomes a ritual. You know what I mean?
And it's like a weird comfort. It's a very strange comfort.
Oh gosh, I think about that, and I think about how I cringe now when I hear myself say that I did that because I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
But so many people can relate to that. A lot of people do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I try to tell myself, like, it's okay, Nicole. Other people know what you're talking about. They can relate. You know, those times when we share stuff out of our stories that we're like, why am I telling this to the United States? Why am I telling this to the world? And it's like,
yeah, there's a lot of embarrassing stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's embarrassing, really.
So when you were in your active addiction, you had kids. What happened with you and your kids?
Okay, so I should have said this beforehand. So when I was going through my divorce the first time, that is kind of what led to my drug addiction. Was my children were living with me and everything was really good, and their father would pick them up on the weekend, and you know, we just had a normal 50-50 sort of kind of relationship. And one weekend he came and got them and said, "Oh, I need their social security cards and their birth certificates to fill out the taxes." And I had a check in my heart and in my spirit that said, "Don't give this to him." But when he said for the income tax and I get half of it, I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I gave him the information, and he had a new girlfriend, a new relationship at this time. And I guess I'm not sure what happened on that side of it, but the next thing I knew, that following Monday, when he didn't bring the children back, he had gone to the court and said that I threatened to kill my children and got a restraining order against me. And I can't tell you, like, and I wasn't even on drugs at this point. They were the darkest days of my life, the darkest. It's not something I talk about much because it's just so raw and painful for me, even still, even all these years later. I'm not blaming anyone for my addiction, but I know that there was a part of me that was ripped out of my soul when those boys were taken from me for no reason whatsoever other than revenge. I don't know. But either way, it doesn't matter. That's what happened. And I mean, I fought for like 6 months, 7 months, and then I had met that guy, and it just was like a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm for that to happen. You know, it was a breeding ground for drugs to enter in, and I needed it at that time. I believed I needed something. I didn't have to think anymore. I didn't have to feel. I didn't have to, you know, just destroy myself emotionally. I wanted to die. I really did want to die not having my children. They were everything to me. So it was a very difficult time in my life. And that just kind of covered over it. And then I would come down and I would be filled with horror again. And it's what kept me going for years, and to the depths that are just unbelievable. The things that I've done, the things that I've done to people, the things I've gone through in the prison time. And I've done everything in my addiction in 6 short years. And it was never enough, you know? I mean, I shouldn't be here.
What did you go to prison for?
Well, I went to prison in my addiction in 2006. I stole a gun and I sold it.
Okay, I read that. I read about that.
Yeah, I sold it for drugs, for crack. And I didn't really get much crack. I didn't get the $800 promised, and it was a big, big mistake.
That's usually how it goes.
Yep. But it was 2 a.m., Nicole. It was 2 a.m.
I've gotten in trouble for theft before too. I've gotten in trouble for theft by receiving, theft on my, I used to have this whole scam where I would run into the Dillards on their truck day and I would put 3 Coach purses or 3 Dooney and Burke purses, all the name brand purses on one arm, 3 on this arm, and then I would book it out the door and I would make it out. I made it out every single time until one time I didn't.
Do you know what I used to do? This is how ballsy I was. I would go into a store, load up my cart, and go to the self checkout and call an attendant to come and bag my stolen goods for me. I'm not kidding. And I would do it so confidently, so confident. I think we have this sense of like invisibility when we were on drugs, that you just think no one's watching you and you can just, I don't even know what I looked like to people. I must have looked insane at many times in my life. I would love to see the footage, you know?
Yes, we looked crazy. And I used to think nobody would know that I was high, but everybody knew it. There's no way they didn't know because I couldn't be still.
But then it's kind of sad, like they don't say anything.
I know.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
When I see people that are messed up in real life now, I've talked to these people. I will literally pull over on the side of the road and go, "What's your story? Yep. Why are you out here? Why are you begging for money? You know, I want to know why you're getting high or what you're doing, you know?"
Yep. I love you. I'm the same exact way. Yep. I'm the same exact way.
You know, I want to know everyone's story. Like, I don't care who it is. Because I feel like everybody knows. We've been there, though. That's why I feel that pull to ask people those things, because I've been there, you know?
And there's nothing worse than feeling invisible, even though in addiction you like the fact that you think you are. But there isn't anything worse than people walking by and seeing what you're going through and not even any curiosity or care about it. It kind of makes me, I don't get that. There's been many times that I have drugged my husband along with me. Like, you know, we've gone to like, you know, Dunkin' Donuts, and I'll see a heroin addict sitting there and I'll just sit down and I'll just start talking. And I mean, I've done that so many times in my life. And we actually began a nonprofit ministry 5 years ago too. And that's where we go into Philadelphia, into Kensington, and it's just rampant with drug addiction, with heroin specifically. And we just love on these people. We go in there and we bring them haircuts and first aid and clothes and shoes and backpacks. And I cook a big meal for them. And we just spend the day loving these people back to life as much as we can. And we pray and hope that speaks something to them. And I share my testimony, and I'm very raw and very real, because I used to be like them and I didn't think there was a way out. I did not believe. I've seen people like me sitting in my face, and I would just be like, that will never be me. That will never be me, because I'm just disgusting and I'm a waste of life and I don't deserve good things. I deserve this. I deserve people to spit on me and to walk by me and ignore me and call me filthy names and say things about my children and the lack of their being in my life and all those things that I've taken. I've taken all of it. And I had a child in addiction with the new boyfriend. And that child was born addicted. He was born into, methadone, and it was horrible. And I know I'm jumping ahead, and I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. When you, so with that guy that you were doing heroin with, you ended up having a baby with him? So you were on the methadone clinic when you did that? Or were you just getting the methadone off the streets?
No, so I have to backtrack. When I stole the gun, I went to court. I went to jail for 3 months. I got out on my own personal recognizance.
Yeah.
I never know how to say that word. I can write it, but I can't say it. And by that point, he had ditched me and gone to California with his family, who, just were helping him set up a whole new life as long as he got clean and sober. I didn't know that he was blaming all of his addiction on me. I had no clue, no concept, totally just madly in love with this guy, believed everything that he said. And when he left me, I was totally devastated. And I would sleep with my phone, waiting for him to call and save me. And he did finally. And he said, I want you here with me. I have a great life. So I went, and I was a fugitive from justice because I went to California and I never went back for my court dates. And we were clean for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was clean and he was clean. And he made a comment because my mom was our supplier for much of our addiction back home. And he said, as long as we don't have to pay for it, some patches or like fentanyl patches or some Dilaudid could be a lot of fun. Like, that's exactly what he said to me. And I remember my heart dropping, but I remember the other side of me, the addiction side of me, being like, yeah, makes sense. Let's go ahead and do it. And my mom would mail us packages like FedEx of just patches and Dilaudids, and we had it. And we partied like that for a while, and then we got on heroin, and I found out I was pregnant. And I was horrified. I was terrified. I didn't know if I could have a baby with this guy. I didn't know if I could get clean. And it took me a while to get clean. I didn't stop right away. I was shooting up, and I tried to limit it, and I tried to care more about this baby that was inside of me. I wanted to. I really, really wanted to. But addiction is so strong, and it's not something you'll ever understand unless you live it. You'll never understand how a woman can be pregnant and use drugs. Nobody will ever agree with it, and I understand it. And I understand the feelings of, vehemence toward those women. But until you live it and walk it, you really don't have a place to say anything about what you would or wouldn't do.
Oh, I used drugs the whole time I was pregnant with my son.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it now, but I'm sure in your life prior to that, you were probably one of those people like me who thought the worst of those women.
Oh, yeah.
You just, even if you're still in addiction yourself, and you always have like, yeah, I might be doing this, but I'm not doing that. And we always have like our yet moments. We have a lot of yets. And all those yets get closer and closer to who you are as you continue in your addiction. And there's so many lines that you would never cross that you just began to sprint across because you needed that fix, So I was able to get myself on the methadone clinic during my pregnancy, and I was able to stop using, which I'm grateful for. I didn't know that a baby could be born addicted to methadone. They don't tell you that. It's unfortunate. And I watched my baby. I watched him.
It's okay, girl. It's better. Look at me. At least you got on the clinic though, and you weren't shooting heroin and stuff. I mean, that way they could medically monitor him and make sure that he was going to be safe while he was in your belly. Because listen to me. I'm all about harm reduction and the risks of you shooting black tar heroin or going and getting on the clinic. You being on the clinic was the best thing you could have done for your baby at that time, because if you had just tried to stop cold turkey, you could have killed your kid in your belly from withdrawal, So you did the right thing by going and getting on the clinic. A lot of people, look down on that, or they think, oh, you shouldn't even do that. Well, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have got pregnant in my active addiction. So shut the hell up,
Yeah.
You did the right thing. You did what you had to do to make sure that you stayed healthy and your baby was okay and lived,
Yeah. Yeah, but he was born thoroughly addicted, and it was really the hardest thing I'd ever had to witness. And knowing that I did it to him was a whole nother thing. And it's what kept me clean for 7 or 8 months of his life. And then his father started bringing it home again. And it's just a matter of time. I mean, I wasn't doing any work on myself. It's not like I
Yeah.
was just white knuckling my sobriety. I wasn't doing anything. I was just surviving. And I was trying to be a good mother. And it was just so hard to be in a relationship like that and accomplish this and stay straight. It was really difficult. And so it wasn't long before I started using again. And it got even worse and worse. And it was just constant. It just was horrible. I mean, it's all in the book. It's really horrible, all of the things that went on. But eventually I was extradited back to Rhode Island for that gun charge, and I was sentenced to 5 years in prison. And it's really what saved my life. I was very close, I'm positive, to death. I'm positive that I was close to death. So I'm grateful for my prison time. I
Did you
really
stay
am.
sober in prison the whole time?
I did. Yeah, and
Because
I've
you know
really
you can get high in there.
I absolutely know that I can get high in there. I had many offers. It was like, if you just go down on me. And I mean, that was the kind of offers I had. And
I know, girl. I know.
and I don't really like to go that way. I'm not saying I've never gone that way, but it's not
Yeah.
really my thing, you know? So
Yeah.
I wasn't looking to go that way in sobriety. So
God, women's prison is so crazy. Like, guys
Yeah.
just don't understand.
They
I
don't.
watch a lot of guys on YouTube that have prison channels, and I listen to their stories and stuff. It's so different with girls. Women are just, we like to take care of each other. I know a lot of the girls that I was locked up with, we all just became like a little family, you know? And
Yeah.
we would sit up at night and tell stories, and we would do each other's hair. We would thread each other's eyebrows.
I know. It's really, there's nothing like it. Honestly, you'll always remember those relationships that you
I
formed.
had some of the most fun I've ever had when I was locked up. Just being,
I agree.
I was sober and I was laughing my ass off. These women made me laugh so hard, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you have so many things that you don't have to worry about, as crazy as it sounds. There's just a lot of things that are. Let me ask you a question. Now, my friend texted and said, what happened? So are we still going? Are you seeing comments or anything? I'm just wondering. Okay. So she must have somehow managed to get whatever. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was just checking. I can't see any comments. I can't see who's here. I have no idea.
There are 30 people here on the YouTube side. Let me look at the Facebook side.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, we're still live on Facebook too, see?
Oh, yeah.
And so, I wonder if they got kicked. Who knows? And then
she could have.
Yeah, we're in your we're in your group, Junkie Madness to Ministry, and so I shared it out to all the groups that I'm friends, all the people that I'm friends with on Facebook. So we're still live, girl. We're still live.
All right, we're still live.
So, did you come out of prison and you were just like, that's it, I'm sober, I'm not going back to that addiction life?
Probably not. I really hadn't. I mean, I didn't even get in those I was almost in there for 2 years. It was 18 months that I was there. And I left a portion. I was on parole. So I left, and a large portion of my sentence of the 18 months was left over to go do in a program. So I chose a program. And I still didn't get the gravity of what I had done. I still didn't understand the gun crime. I still didn't really think I was an addict, as crazy as that sounds. I don't know how I thought that, but I did. I did not think I didn't think I had that bad of a problem. I don't know how I rationalized it. I can't answer that question. I still don't get it. But I think I was afraid, and I was committed to trying. So I went into a program and did 9 months there. And upon completion, they gave me a sober home to run. They named it after me. And it was the biggest mistake I ever made. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't
Yeah.
even working on myself. Again, I was kind of white knuckling it. I wasn't really working my program. I wasn't really surrendering myself. And I wasn't admitting that I was, unable to control my life. I wasn't ready to admit that I was an addict, I guess. So I took that position, and of course, the people in the home are on methadone and they're on Suboxone and they're on all kinds of stuff. And I started taking their stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't right away, but within 2-3 months, I was taking their stuff.
Yeah.
With their permission, but still, how crazy is that? I'm
Oh, it's
going to
totally
people.
normal. When you have a mixed bag of people like that, that's what it's good to have sober living homes that are like 4 people that are on MAT treatment, because I feel like when you have people that are abstinent that are trying to like stay sober, they're gonna want to go over there. It's just like that's why I got on
Yeah.
Suboxone, because my husband had gotten on Suboxone while I was in rehab, and I knew if I came out of rehab and I came and lived with my husband that I was going to take his Suboxone.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I just need to get on it and get my life together and get my son back. That's why I got
smart.
on Suboxone,
Yeah.
and then I got my son back. But
That's
I think
smart.
a lot of people do that. I hear a lot of stories from people that, they sell their medication and that, it's just, it's part of that like addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also when you're abstinent, like you had been abstinent for years, and then you come out and you use Suboxone or methadone, it is going to knock your ass out.
Yeah.
And you're going to be hella high.
I had a grand mal seizure is what I had, and I broke my ankle in 3 places, and I woke up in the hospital, and the director was standing over me, looking down at me with this look of like contempt, and I denied it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. And she was like,
I've done the
okay.
same thing.
She said, okay, have it your way. You need to leave. So I could have helped you, but you don't want to admit anything. So you have to leave. Obviously you can't stay. Obviously you're not going to run this sober home. Obviously you got to go. I mean, she was willing to help me, but I was just so prideful and I wasn't ready to admit anything. So I ended up going into a sober home, and I ended up going back to my mom's, and again the pills started coming, and I went on methadone, and that's when I was able to like really sort of decide like I don't need to do drugs anymore. I ended up homeless on the streets, and I ended up in a homeless shelter, and I was on methadone. I was on 300 milligrams of methadone. How I got that much methadone, I don't know. I don't know how that's even legal, but that's
I know, right?
But that's what they gave me. It blew me up to almost 300 pounds. I mean, I was huge, and I was homeless, and I was living in this shelter. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was clear-headed, and I looked around, and everyone was fast asleep, and it just caused me this incredible anxiety. And I just was like, how did I ever get here? How did I ever get to this place of being okay with this life? I'm a mom. I'm a woman. I have the ability to change my life, and I really need to stop thinking that I can figure it out my own way. And that's when I prayed. I just said a prayer. I had conversations with God before, and they were not pleasant. It was me telling him what a piece of crap he was and how much I couldn't stand him, and I hated that he gave me life. It was never anything decent coming out of my mouth toward God. I thought God hated me. And this night I begged him. I begged him, if you're willing to save me, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Just get me out of this, because I don't see a way out. And the very next day I saw a table at the bus stop, and it was a Christian program, and I just ended up going into this Christian program. I ended up kicking the 300 milligrams of methadone. I never had a moment of sickness. Not a moment.
What?
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a miracle. God must have done that, girl, because that's unheard of.
He did.
You know?
It took me 2 weeks. I went to the home, because I don't know how much time I have, so I'm kind of like skipping through everything really quickly because I don't know like where we're at.
We're
So,
at an hour. We're right at an hour in, but you're okay. Go ahead.
okay. So I went to this program and I had the interview and they asked me if I would like to come and live there. And it was this beautiful mansion of a place. And it was just so clean and so beautiful. And I felt so disgusting sitting there. But I just was like, I don't have any money. I don't have anything. I don't know what you want. I was so like skeptical of everybody. And they were
Yeah.
like, we didn't ask you if you want, I mean, if you have money, we want to know, do you want to come here? I said, yes. Okay. Psychiatric meds are a no, and methadone is a no. I was on 13 psychiatric meds, and I was on 300 milligrams of methadone. I went to my methadone clinic, and I said, I need to taper off. I have to get into this program within 2 weeks. The lady laughed at me. She was like, are you crazy? She's
Yeah.
like, do you realize it would take you years to taper off 300? And I was like, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I got to get into this program. And I knew I had to get into this program. And I just decided the next morning that I was not going to go get my methadone. And I heard a voice just saying, just trust in me. I really heard it in my spirit. Just trust in me. And I didn't know where that voice was coming from. I didn't even know God. I didn't. I had no faith at all. I didn't. And, but every day, and like there's a window. If you don't go get your dose after 5 days, you're done. They don't take you
Yeah.
back. So every day that it would pass, I would be like, what if I get sick? I'm homeless. I can't use the public bathrooms and I have nowhere to go to the bathroom or shower or da 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 da. And I never got sick. And I went there off of the 13 psychiatric meds and off of the methadone. And I did the program for 2 years. I lived there. And I've been clean ever since.
That's a commitment, man. Going to
Yeah.
a lot of people. I had a young man that reached out and we just got him into a year-long program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like when you want to get your life together and you're willing to do anything, you'll go to a year program or 2-year program because you're desperate.
Yep.
It's like, what else do you have to do? Die? Live on the street?
Yeah.
But you would be surprised how many people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I had nothing left to lose and I had everything to gain. And I have. I mean, I've gained so much. I have my children back in my life. I don't have my youngest in California. I haven't seen him since he was a year old, but I know God's promise to me in that. And I know that it will happen. Just like my 2 oldest, I waited over 11 years to see them again. And they were just here last week for the whole entire week. And it's just the start of the restoration and the healing. And it's crazy. Like once I wrote that book and published it, like just being obedient, so many things have just happened. So many wonderful things, and it's just incredible what doing the next right thing will bring,
I understand how you felt with losing your kids. When I lost my son, like it was the ultimate, like I cannot believe that I've reached this point in my life where I lost my child because I was but I lost Nathaniel because I was doing drugs and they came and took him from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was always that same. And I tell people this all the time. I was always that person who looked down on people who got their kids taken away. Yep. I looked down on people who used the needle before I started using the needle. I judged people for being on maintenance medication before I had to get on maintenance medication. And that's what it is. It's like my God has a way of humbling us when we need it. And I was a very prideful person. I've always been very prideful. And so I learned how to not be that way by him showing me, you know what, you think it can't be you? Let me put you right there. And
Girl.
I'm glad that I don't have to be like that anymore, but I learned my lesson the hard way. That's always how it's been for me. I've always learned things the hard way.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
My dad saying stuff to me. Like my dad would tell me all the time when I was a young girl, like, these people that you're hanging out with, that it's not going to be cool in 5 more years whenever you want to have a career and get married and have kids. These are not the people you want to have around you. And I never listened. And now I wish all those years that I had listened,
I know. I know. But it's, it doesn't really matter because everyone has their own journey and their own path. And it doesn't matter. It's all across the board that people just really don't heed advice until it's really wanted. Do you know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? It has to be wanted. And if it's not wanted, it's falling on deaf ears, especially when you're young and you're naive and you think you know it all. And we do. There's really no telling a person different. They know,
Yeah.
I know, but
You're
yeah,
so, you are so much like me, only like we are a lot alike, and I'm so glad that you came on because like I see you on Facebook and stuff, but I never like got to hear or know your personality because
yeah.
you need to do videos. You need to make live streams and stuff.
I know. I don't really know what to do. I'm kind of like grateful that it's been a slow, you know, steady trajectory toward whatever it's going to be. If it was like overwhelming, like I know I could, not that I couldn't, I know that I wouldn't want to do what you do. I would not be able to really commit to that every day like you do. And I know that about myself. It's not a bad thing. It's just that I know that about myself. There are certain people that have certain giftings, and this is one of yours. It's not one of mine. So I don't really know. I don't know like how else to really sort of put myself out there. It's always a very awkward thing for me to do. It's always very uncomfortable. I don't know. It's
Well,
just something.
when I started my channel, I just was like knew that I wanted to tell my story, but I'll tell you this, the reason why I do it so much on here is because like I have built a community and I like
Yeah.
coming on and doing it, you know what I mean? But at first it was because I was trying to get people to know that I was here. And I was like
Yeah.
for 2 years or a year and a half, I was like,
Oh,
nobody knew I was really over here, you know? And
yeah.
I wasn't
Wow.
utilizing Facebook because I had gotten burned really bad by people on Facebook in the recovery,
Mm. Ugh,
you know? So I was like, I'm not going back over there. But
I'm sorry. That's
it's
terrible.
fun to do it, and I like hanging out with everybody, and I just use my channel as like I'm talking to people on the phone or something. You know?
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I just know myself. It's just I always have like daily struggles. I don't know if you have daily struggles, but I have daily struggles still with I have like physical consequences to my addiction. I know I have like impairment damage. I know that I do. Um I have a lot of anxiety still in my life. I have a lot of PTSD issues in my life. So my ability fluctuates from day to day. There are some days that I literally don't talk to a soul. And I can't. I can't bring myself to do it because I'm afraid like I'm gonna like not fall apart, but I don't know. I just know that there's a lot that I hold in regards to my youngest son. There's a lot of unhealing there. There's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of loss and heartache. And so it's hard for me to be real about that, and be happy. I always feel guilty for being happy. I feel guilty when I laugh. I feel guilty when I'm enjoying myself. I feel like I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to torture myself until the day comes that my son is returned to me, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But does that make any sense? I don't know.
You could. This is what I would do. I would make a video journal, and I would journal every day how I felt, even if you don't upload it to YouTube, and just record it and put it in a file somewhere, and then watch it back a year from now, whenever you do get to be able to be with your son again, and then you can see, okay, like look at all these days that's what I do. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if I come on here and I look like a psychopath and I'm crying. I don't care. I come on here and I have times where I'm binge eating and I eat so
Yeah.
much that I almost vomit. I have
Aw.
times where I have migraines and my husband relapses and I have to come on here and cry because I'm worried about my husband going out and spending $7,000 out of our savings account. Like
Yeah.
it like therapy
Yeah.
session for me. you know,
Yeah. I'm
it's
glad. I'm
therapy.
glad. I'm glad that you
But
have this.
you could do it and then keep it on a disc, and then you could watch it back, and or you could show your son that.
I
You
love
could
that
keep
idea.
videos of yourself talking every day about him, about the day that you get to get him back and see him again. And then when you finally do reunite, you can show him all those videos from whenever you were thinking about him every single day.
I like that idea very much.
Don't cry, because I'm going to cry too. I cry all the time. I can't hold it. I would be in tears if I was you talking, because just whenever I lost to Daniel, just for that short time, just for 10 months, that's all he was gone from me. But it was the worst time of my whole entire life. I never thought I would get him back. I thought that they were going to keep him from me forever. And so I totally understand, like, when somebody's in active addiction and they lose their children, it's the hardest thing. And people might think, well, they don't care because they're still getting high. And it's not that. It's that they don't know how to cope with the feeling of not having. When you give birth to a child, it's like comes out of you. It's from you. And then you're separated from that child. It's like your body is missing a fucking piece. Like your arm is gone. It's like having a missing limb. You know, I felt like I remember going to bed at night when I was in rehab, and I could close my eyes and I would see my little boy's face every night. You know, I would see his face. I would hear him in my dreams, and then I would wake up and I wouldn't be with him because I was in treatment, you know. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like. And you're doing the right thing today. And so, like, I have all the faith in the world that you'll be able to be with your son again, you know? It's crazy. You had 3 boys.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with my son in California, I lost my rights completely when I was in prison. His family was being manipulated by my ex, and they believed that it was just me in addiction, not him, just me. I was alone in all of that, and I did all these awful things to our son, and he had nothing to do with it. And I didn't do awful physical things to my son, but just being in addiction, which is awful enough. But he never owned his part of it. So he used that lie against me, and they financially helped him to eradicate me completely from my son's life. I have no hope of ever having anything reinstated in California, because once you are removed and all your rights are stripped, there is absolutely no restoration in the state of California. So I have to wait until my son is 18 years old, or until his father grows a heart and actually has some compassion for his son, number one, and then for me, second, maybe.
Is he still in active addiction, the dad, or did he get sober?
I don't know, but the fact that nothing has changed from what I can see would lead me to think that, yeah, it must be kind of the same, because I would like to believe the person that I knew before addiction in him would want my son to know me.
Right.
I would think that, but I thought the same thing about my first husband too. And what he did was completely unexpected. I never ever would have thought that he would do something like that. It was completely from left field and unexpected. And I can't tell you what the reason is. I don't know what the motive was. I don't know.
And you're married now, though, right?
I am married now.
How did you meet the husband you have now?
I met him online on a dating site.
What?
6 years ago. 6 years ago. And we're both Christians, so that's what drew us to each other. And we started dating, and we just had so much in common with our faith and everything. And we really just grew in love for each other as Christians more than anything, first and foremost. And we just loved that we had that common denominator between us. And it was really something good to build on this time. You know, all of my other relationships were built on, you know, trauma, loss, heartache, darkness, you know, voids. They weren't built on anything real, you know. And and this one, I know it's built on Jesus, and I am grateful every day. I have a very normal life. I have a very healthy life, a full life. I have a family. He has wonderful parents, and he has a wonderful brother and his wife, and I have nephews that I get to see and play with and take them out for the day, and it's great, and life is good, and I've seen the world with my husband. Like, I've just experienced so many things in my life through trusting in God, and it's just been really, really good. And now it's the next chapter. My husband, he wrote the last chapter of my book, to just sort of get the point of view of what it's like for someone who's never experienced anything at all of addiction, trauma, abuse, depression. Like, he's never experienced any of these things, and he's in law enforcement. So,
oh, wow.
I knew God had a sense of humor. I said, God, you really have a sense of humor.
That's crazy. He's the police officer then?
He's a constable. He's a constable
What's
here.
a constable?
A constable is like a Texas Ranger kind of thing. Like that. Yeah. Okay. That's the best way to explain it. That's what a constable is. So, and that's
so you have a happy ending in your recovery story, though. Like, your life is good today because you're staying sober.
I don't really think that I'll never say never, but I don't think that there's enough reasons for me to ever go back. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there could be any. I think that I've experienced the worst of it in losing my children, and then in losing my son that I don't have now. I don't think there's anything worse than that, and I've survived it so far. And so if I were to relapse, it would just put more distance between me and my son. So I just hang on, and I just believe that there's gonna come a day,
Yeah. I mean, I'm for sure. Like you said, your son's gonna want to know you. You know what I mean? Like, all kids want to know their mom. So
yeah.
I pray that day comes sooner than later. You know what I mean?
I do. And it's really a nice picture to have, but I'm really living it out with my two oldest children who do have traumatic memories and traumatic effects. And now I'm the one that has to figure out how to help them through it. So it's all well and good that, they were kept from me all these years and I had to go through what I went through, but now I have them back, and it's not like this happily ever after. It's like, how do we work this thing out? How do we reconnect? How do we form a bond? It's really hard.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking as a mother when you just want to love your kids and you can't, because one of my sons has an emotional issue, and it's sad and it breaks my heart. And I'm just like, what do I do? Like, what do I do for this boy, this man? He's a man. These are men.
Yeah.
And I owe it to them because no one else is going to help them through. So I have to help them through, but it's difficult. Like, I would love it to just be this wonderful snapshot thing, but it's not. It's really a lot of work. And I'm willing to do the work. I want to do the work with them. I want to, as their mom, I want to pull them through that and know this is who we are, and this is where we're going to stay, right here. There's no space between us. We're right here, and I want that for all my children,
Oh, girl. Yes, I know what you mean.
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. What helps me so much is like just talking about it. Y'all talk about everything with your kids. Like, you guys need to, that's how you build that communication and the relationship and the connection and being able to be there to support them. And when time is lost, it's like you constantly feel like you're trying to make up for all that lost time. But, you can't make up for the lost time, but you can just do what you can today,
Yeah.
Oh, your story is so amazing. So many women are going through the same thing and have their kids, same situation. I cannot tell you how many. I have one video that always seems to catch, and it's one of my videos about Child Protective Services and how to get your kids back from Child Protective Services. And I always go through the comments on that video because I get so many comments on it from women that are going through the same thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what I find a lot of, I find peace in knowing that other people know they're going through the same thing, or they have been through the same thing, and we can like talk to each other and share our experiences. That
Yeah.
helps me so much.
Yeah, and just hang on. I mean, you know, it really is just, even if it's not immediate, you know, I know God's always working things out, and I just have to, and we all just have to, as mothers, just continue mothering ourselves, mothering our children, even if they're not here. Like, I continued to treat myself that way even when they weren't here. I didn't ever let myself forget that I was a mother, you know, and it's helped me to stay the course, you know.
Damn,
But
man, your story is amazing. I really thank you for taking the time to come on. And I felt like I went to California and I was literally on cloud nine when I came back from there, and I was just living my best life. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I know, I saw
And
you. You're like traveling constantly now.
I'm like just a social butterfly. And honestly, I hadn't flown on a plane since I was like 7 years old. I was so scared. If I was ever going to do something stupid, it would have been on the plane because I
Yep.
was so I
Yep.
was so nervous. I was hanging on to the seat in front of me with I was hanging on to it for dear life. But I made it and I stayed sober. I didn't get high on the plane or anything. Thank God, because it was so scary.
So
Damn,
proud
it's
of
scary to
you.
fly.
So proud of you. I know. I'm always afraid every time, but then I love it. I always get a window seat and I watch the whole thing the whole time. I love it. It's just the
I can't.
takeoff. I can't with the
I didn't
takeoff.
look out that window one time. I only
Oh,
looked out
it's so
just on the wing.
beautiful. You wait. You wait. I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to come a day when you're going to have a window seat and you're going to look. It's gorgeous.
I have to have control of everything at all times,
I
and I
know.
feel
I
out of
know.
control on that plane. You know
I
what I mean?
know. I do
Oh,
know what you mean. I know. It took me years to open that window, but I do it now because I know it's a blessing.
the lady beside me kept opening the window all the way, and I wanted to strangle her.
Don't open it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on my channel. So what we've been doing, just so you know, is my top moderator, Merck, has been linking your book in the chat as we've been going through. And when this video goes up, because it takes like 24 hours for it to process usually,
Yeah.
I'll link everything on the Facebook, your book, and in your Facebook group on Facebook. But then on YouTube, I will link your Facebook book group and your book below the video when it uploads, just so you know.
Can I just say thank you to you and thank you to Merck?
Oh, yeah. Anytime, girl. Well, I mean,
That's so sweet.
you know, well, we like to help people. Like, here's the thing. Like, if we share people's stuff over here. Like, I'm not competing with anybody. Like, I know a lot of people, they get weird. I've been knocked out of and blocked out of groups because, like, I share my stuff and I'm like, well, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Like, sharing our stuff to help other people?
I know.
We're not like that around here. We help everybody.
Okay. You know what? That's going to be their fruit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people just they're insecure or they get jealous, but we want, I mean, your book, I've read halfway through the book and I loved it. I mean, I'm loving the parts that I'm reading now, but I know other people who have read all the way through it, like Erin, and she talks so good about it. She's been in the comments the whole time. Your friend Sunshine, I think her name was Sunshine, is in here. A couple of ladies that I don't recognize that I think are from the Facebook group came over.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You got support in here, and people are watching on the Facebook side of things too. So I love you, girl. I'm gonna let you go because I'll keep you on here for 2 hours.
I love you too, and I thank you so much. And I hope that I didn't like too much.
Oh, you did perfect. You did great. Exactly what I needed you to do. And I will send you a copy of this video after it uploads to YouTube. Okay?
Yes. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much you helped me. Love you too.
Bye. Damn, that was a good story, wasn't it, y'all? God got me all emotional and shit. Y'all, I mean, I get emotional easily, but I really get emotional when it comes to other ladies that have been through it with their kids and stuff. Damn, man, I feel that. I feel the pain. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, I don't connect with a lot of women on my channel, but when I do find people like Dawn, like she's super genuine, you guys, and that's really important to me. Okay, like I don't just sit up here on my channel because I want to be popular or I want to be famous or anything like that. Like I truly genuinely care about helping people better their lives. And it's really hard to find people that truly genuinely care about helping people better their lives. And so when you find people like Dawn, you guys need to go follow her. You need to follow her on Facebook. Her name is Dawn Searock, Searock. You need to get her book, and you need to go join her Facebook group. It's called Junkie Madness to Ministry. Excuse me. Because those are people who like really care about whether you make it or not. Those are people who are going to answer your messages on Messenger. Those are the people that are going to call you and check up on you. You know, there's a lot of people out there that they act like they care, and they don't. So I like Dawn a lot. I approve her message. So I love you guys. I'm not going to make this video too long, but I want to shout out. I saw my little chickadee come in. Let me see. Where are you at, girl? Dylan, I see you, girl. I wanted to shout you out. Y'all better love up on Dylan. I'm seeing you, girl. I'm proud of you. Thank you for coming in tonight. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this video and upload it to YouTube. You guys go over there, give Dawn a follow. There she is right there. Hey, Dawn. She says she's starting her video diary for her son tomorrow. I think that is amazing. Hey, John, I really do think that's a great idea. So y'all go give Dawn a follow and get her book. And like I said, I love all you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting me and believing in me and Dawn. And Dylan, I'm so happy to see you, girl. You'll be hanging out with us from now on. I go live every single night, you guys. I go live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're sitting at home and you're all alone and you are like, I don't have nothing to do, well, now you do. Every single night I go live. All right. Love y'all. Night.